Today, we're diving into the key ideas from Wilda Hale's book, The Fear of Failure. We're going to explore what's really holding you back and, more importantly, how you can actually break free from it for good.
So, we've all heard this famous line from Franklin Roosevelt, right? It's powerful, it's inspiring, and it really gets to this universal truth about how fear can just paralyze us.
But that quote makes you think, doesn't it? What if the real thing to be scared of isn't some monster under the bed, but the fear that's right there in your own head? The kind that stops you cold before you even start. That's exactly what we're getting into today. So let's just start with this first big idea: fear is holding you back. For so many of us, it's like this invisible wall standing between who we are now and who we want to be. It's not just some feeling, it's a real barrier.
And if you think you're the only one, get this. A survey from Linkagol found that 31% of adults are more afraid of failure than they are of spiders or being home alone. So yeah, if this all sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone.
So what does this fear actually look like in real life? Well, it's sneaky. It can disguise itself as extreme perfectionism, where nothing you do is ever quite good enough. Or it might be that little voice of constant self-doubt, or just endlessly overthinking everything. It often leads to procrastination, putting things off, or even avoiding responsibility altogether. Because hey, if you don't take the lead, you can't really fail, right? Does any of that ring a bell? Okay, part 2. Understanding your fear. Look, to beat this thing, we've got to understand where it's coming from. And spoiler alert, it's not some personal weakness. It's a survival mechanism that's hardwired into all of us.
At its most basic level, fear is all about survival. When our brain senses a threat, it kicks off that fight or flight response. Your heart pounds, your palms get sweaty, we all know the feeling. But here's the key. While that physical reaction is universal, our emotional response is totally unique to us.
And this is where it gets fascinating. Dr. Carl Albrecht says that most of our anxieties boil down to one of these 5 core fears. And the fear of failure? Oh, it almost always plugs right into that last one: ego death. The fear of humiliation. Think about it. We're not really afraid of failing the project. We're terrified of the shame, of looking stupid, of our ego getting completely crushed.
And where does that wiring come from? A lot of times it starts in childhood. Maybe you had overprotective parents who never let you take a risk. Or maybe you had overly critical parents where every mistake felt like a catastrophe. Those early lessons really shape how we see failure as adults.
Okay, so we get the fear now, but how do we actually rewrite that story in our heads? This is the good part. This is where we go from understanding the problem to actually doing something about it.
I love this iceberg image because it captures the new mindset perfectly. When we look at successful people, we only see the tip of the iceberg, the success, the achievements. What we don't see is everything under the water. All the failures, the mistakes, the brutal hard work, the persistence. So the big takeaway here is this: failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a huge part of it.
You think you're afraid to fail? Try being Jeff Bezos. The man has lost billions of dollars on failed ideas, like the Amazon Fire Phone. That was a $170 million disaster. And you know what he thinks about it? He says expecting to fail is freeing. It's what lets you experiment and innovate, because you're not terrified of things not working out.
It really all comes down to what the psychologist Carol Dweck calls your mindset. With a fixed mindset, you believe your abilities are set in stone, so failure feels like a final judgment. But with a growth mindset, you believe your abilities can be developed, so failure isn't the end of the road. It's just information. It's a chance to learn something and get better. So the question is, which side of this chart do you want to live on?
So changing your mindset is step 1. But you also need some practical tools to help you turn that new way of thinking into action. So let's open up the toolkit. I've got 3 simple but seriously powerful techniques for you. All right, tool number 1 might sound a little weird, but stick with me. The next time you feel that anxiety creeping in, that nervous flutter before a big moment, I want you to stop. And instead of thinking, "I'm so nervous," say these 3 words out loud: I am excited. Here's the crazy secret. Physically, anxiety and excitement are pretty much the same thing. Your heart beats faster, your cortisol spikes. It's the same state of high arousal. So when you tell yourself, "I am excited," you're not trying to calm down, which is nearly impossible anyway. You're just relabeling the feeling. You're hijacking your own biology and turning a threat into an opportunity. Tool number 2. This one is a game changer for all the perfectionists out there. It's a new mantra. Just do it badly. Seriously.
The pressure to do something perfectly is what stops us from ever starting. So give yourself permission to do a bad first draft, to have a clumsy conversation, to just get it done. Because progress will always, always be perfection.
And finally, tool number 3 is designed to blast through that moment of hesitation. You know, when you know what you should do, but your brain starts coming up with a million excuses? Just use this trick. Count backwards. 3, 2, 1, go. And on go, you physically move. You don't think, you just act. It's a simple way to outsmart your brain before it has a chance to talk you out of it.
So, we've looked at the fear, we've learned how to reframe it, and now you have a toolkit to take action. So there's really only one thing left. I'm going to leave you with this really powerful quote from Les Brown. He said, "The graveyard is the richest place on earth because that's where you'll find all the hopes and dreams that were never fulfilled." The real tragedy in life isn't failure. It's getting to the end with a heart full of what-ifs.
So, the question I want to leave you with is this. What's that one idea, that one dream, or that one conversation you've been putting off because you were afraid? What will you decide to start today?